Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pastana, and I am so excited to be celebrating 10 years of meaningful conversations with you. As we step into our new primetime hour, it's such an honor to share this exciting new chapter with you. So whether you're starting your day out, headed to work, or listening from wherever you are, this hour is designed to bring you thoughtful dialogue, fresh insight, and inspiring stories so you can make every moment count. So thank you for being here with me today, and let's dive in. We're here today with special guest, Luci Harrison, who's here to share with us her book, Your Menopause Balance, a practical, holistic guide to thriving beyond midlife. Unlock your energy, confidence, and joy. What if menopause wasn't something to simply survive, but an opportunity to become stronger, healthier, and more confident? I think many of us would like to hear about that. And today's guest is going to dive into just that. Luci Harrison has spent more than 20 years helping women improve their health as a personal trainer, Pilates master instructor, and holistic lifestyle coach. Drawing on both her professional expertise and her own experience of burnout, chronic fatigue, and perimenopause, she has written Your Menopause Balance, a practical guide to help women navigate midlife with confidence. The book has received international recognition, winning the 2026 American Legacy Book Award for Women's Health and being named a runner-up in self-help. So welcome to the show, Luci Harrison.
Thanks, Marianne. It's lovely to be here.
My goodness, what an honor it is to have you here and to talk about this book. So what was happening in your life that made you decide this book needed to be written right now?
Well, at the age of 49, I thought I had my health all figured out. I had spent 2 decades helping people improve their health as a personal trainer and a Pilates instructor. I was teaching classes, training clients, and running my own business, and exercising in a way I always exercised in my 20s and 30s. And the big thing is, from the outside, I looked fit, strong, and healthy. But on the inside, my body was telling me a completely different story. I'd become so used to pushing through exhaustion that I'd not even noticed the warning signs. And I think, like many women in midlife, and like many of you listening, I was juggling work, saying yes to everything, and looking after everyone else's well-being, and leaving very little time for me. And then one day, my body just said, enough. I woke up and I struggled to get out of bed. Even lifting my hand to brush my hair was a monumental effort, and climbing stairs felt like climbing a mountain. It felt like my tank was running on empty. Just getting through the day was overwhelming. I couldn't even exercise. I had to sit down to train my clients as I struggled to work. And eventually I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue, hypothyroidism, and complete severe burnout, all while having no idea I was going through perimenopause. It was honestly one of the most frightening times of my life. Not only did I lose my health, but I lost my income, I lost my confidence, and I lost my independence. And I remember sitting at the doctor's office trying to explain to him what I was experiencing. And like many women in perimenopause, I felt my symptoms were just not fully understood. I left feeling more confused, more alone, and wondering what was happening to me. And the hardest part of all is that no one had prepared me for menopause. I had spent years studying health and exercise, but no one would have prepared me for how much impact perimenopause could have on my body, my mind, and even my confidence. I no longer recognized myself. The woman I'd always been was strong, energetic, and capable, had just vanished. As the weeks turned into months, I honestly wondered if I'd ever feel like myself again. And that experience set me on a completely different journey. Recovery became my full-time job. I immersed myself in research, trying to understand what was happening to my body. I studied nutrition, experimented with different approaches to movement, and I learned just how important sleep, stress management, gut health, and hormone health really are. And slowly, I began putting all the pieces of my health back together. And along the way, I sought advice from a wide range of health professionals. I consulted a hormone specialist and had comprehensive blood tests and explored complementary therapies such as acupuncture and herbal medicine. Now, some approaches helped and others didn't, but each one taught me something about understanding my body and finding what really worked for me. And I started sharing what I'd learned with friends and clients. And I realized I wasn't the only one asking these questions. So, like so many women, were just quietly struggling, thinking they were just simply getting older or that something was wrong with them.
Well, it's interesting what we go through. And so, why did you write Your Menopause Balance and why now?
Well, I often say I wrote the book I wish I had when I was 45. Like so many women, I knew very little about menopause before I experienced myself. You know, we talk about pregnancy, raising children, and getting older, but menopause is almost invincible. See, my mother never talked about it, and my older sisters definitely didn't speak about it. And it certainly wasn't something my friends and I discussed over coffee. So when my body changed, I didn't really recognize what was happening to me. And I couldn't understand why I suddenly had no energy, why I wasn't sleeping well, why I felt anxious, why my body ached and shook all over, and why I struggled to concentrate, and even why my body no longer I recognized what I always had. And I honestly started questioning myself. And I remember thinking, am I just getting older? Am I losing my confidence? Or really is something seriously wrong with me? And I realized that, like many women, we're looking for not just a prescription or a diagnosis. They want someone to explain what's happening to them in a way that really makes sense. They want someone to say, you're not imagining this, you're not failing, and you're not alone. And as I began sharing my story, something remarkable happened. Women started telling their stories too. Executives who couldn't think clearly in meetings because of brain fog. Others were waking up exhausted every morning. Others who thought this was simply just part of getting older look like. That's when I realized that this just wasn't my story. It was the story of thousands of women. And I wanted to create a trusted guide that brought together the latest evidence with practical everyday strategies women could actually use and understand. Not just another medical textbook, but a trusted guide written in plain language. And Your Menopause Balance is much more than about managing symptoms. It's about helping people make sense of the changes they're experiencing, giving them practical tools to support their health and remind them that menopause doesn't have to be something they simply struggle through. Knowledge gives us choices. And when women understand what's really happening to their bodies, everything starts to change. They can make better choices, get the support they need, and see this stage in life as a time to grow stronger, not a time to fear.
One of the things I noticed about your book, it's not just about hormones, which I really appreciate. It's about a whole lifestyle approach. Can you share that with us?
Absolutely. Hormones are a really important part of the story, but what surprised me most was that how much they influence just every part of our lives, especially as we age. Before my own experience, I thought menopause was mainly about hot flashes. I had no idea that they could affect your sleep, my energy, my concentration, my confidence, and even the way I exercise and recover. I realized that this was simply dealing with changing hormones. It was navigating one of the biggest transitions in my life. And the more I researched, the more I understood that while we can't stop menopause, we can definitely influence how we experience it. And for me, that's a really empowering message because everyone experiences menopause differently. There is no magic pill or diet or magic diet, but there are many lifestyle changes that together can have a profound impact on how we feel. And that's why I built the book around what I call the 5 pillars of midlife health, and their mindset, nutrition, gut health, exercise, rest and recovery, and purpose and connection. And the first pillar is mindset, because how we think about midlife matters. Many women begin telling themselves, I'm just getting old, or I'll never feel like myself again. And those thoughts can shape the choices we make and the hope for our future. One of the most powerful questions I asked myself was, what does my body need from me now? And that shift changed everything. It's opened doors to make healthier choices, be kinder to myself, and see menopause as not something to fear, but an opportunity to build healthier, a stronger, and a more fulfilled future. And the second pillar is about nutrition and gut health. And for years, many women have focused on eating less to stay slim. But during menopause, our bodies don't need less food, they need better nutrition. And as hormones change, many women notice weight gain, especially around their middle, and reduced energy and slower metabolism. But instead of chasing the latest diet, we need to focus on giving our bodies the nutrients they need to feel their best. We need to focus on quality protein, colourful vegetables, healthy fat, fibre, and staying well hydrated. And I think one of the most important things is to remember that every meal is an opportunity to fuel our bodies rather than just fill them. And the third pillar is about movement. And one of the biggest lessons I've learned is that movement that served me in my 20s wasn't necessarily the movement that my body needed in my 50s. And as women move through perimenopause and menopause, our bodies change and our metabolism slows down. And we naturally begin losing muscle and bone density. And we don't recover the way we used to. That doesn't mean we need to stop exercising. That just means we need to exercise differently. And strength training can become incredibly important for maintaining muscles and supporting your bone health and helping us not just stay strong, but stay independent as we age. And it is no longer about exercising harder. It's about exercising smarter and choosing a movement that supports your body you're living in today, not the body you were in 20 years ago. And the fourth pillar is about rest and recovery. And menopause has taught me rest isn't a luxury. It's an essential part of good health. And quality sleep, managing stress, and giving ourselves permission to recover are just as important as exercise and nutrition. And the key thing to remember is recovery gives our bodies time to repair. It restores our energy to better cope with the physical and emotional demands of everyday life. And recovery looks different for everyone. It might be prioritizing sleep, spending time in nature, or simply slowing down enough for our bodies to recharge. And one of the biggest lessons I've learned is that you don't become stronger simply from exercising. We become stronger when we give our bodies time to recover. And the fifth and final pillar is purpose and connection. So as women, we often spend decades caring for everyone else. And midlife can be a wonderful opportunity to ask ourselves, what do we need now? Or what do I want now? whether it's learning something new, volunteering, traveling, connecting with friends, or discovering a new hobby. Purposing meaningful relationships has a powerful impact on our health. And what all the 5 pillars have in common is that we're learning to work with our body instead of against it. Your body's not letting you down, it's just asking for you to care for it differently. And when you understand that, everything begins to change. At the end of the day, I just want women to know that they're not alone. There are options and there is hope. And there are simple lifestyle changes that can help you feel better and more like yourself again.
How empowering is that? One of the themes that run through your book, throughout the whole book actually, is that menopause can become an opportunity rather than simply something to get through. What do you mean by that?
Well, for me, menopause was much more than a physical transition. It was a life transition. At first, like many women, I kept asking myself, what's wrong with me? Why doesn't my body respond the way it used to? But over time, my thinking changed. Instead of asking, what's wrong with me? I started asking, what is this stage of life asking me to become? And that's one of the questions that changed everything. I realized I didn't need to become the woman I used to be. I needed to become the woman I'm meant to be now. And for years, I measured my success by how much I could achieve, how busy I was, and how much I could fit into my day. But menopause changed all of that. It taught me that slowing down isn't about giving up. Sometimes slowing down is exactly what allows you to move forward. I also had to let go of perfection. So many of us spend our lives trying to be everything for everyone, and often at the expense of our own health. I learned that perfection is exhausting and progress is far healthier. And one of the biggest lessons I've learned is to rest. I've learned to rest because my body needed it, not because I've earned it. Rest has become part of my health plan rather than something I felt guilty about or simply didn't make time for. Menopause also changed the way I thought about exercise. For years, I focused often on how to become thinner, but now my goal is completely different. I want to be strong, so I can keep traveling, hiking up mountains, lifting my Aussie Terrier in the air, and living independently for as long as possible, as I'm sure you can all relate to. Strength has become much more important than simply chasing a number on the scale. And perhaps the greatest gift menopause gave me was the permission to rediscover myself, to ask what brings me joy, to write a book, to educate women. And I believe menopause isn't the end of something, it's the beginning of a new chapter. Not to be less, but to be more intentional, more confident, more authentic, and more you. And that's why I call this stage in life Your Menopause Balance, because it's not about going back to who you were. It's actually about creating a balanced lifestyle that helps you become healthier, maybe a little stronger, and live a more fulfilled life.
One of the things that stood out to me in your book is that you challenge a lot of the message women have been growing up and believing. What are some of those beliefs?
I think one of the biggest beliefs women are told is simply this, is that you just need to push through. I've been conditioned from a young age that believing that strong means putting everyone else's needs before your own. You know, we work harder, we care for everyone else, and we keep saying yes and just keep going. And if we're exhausted, we're told to have another cup of coffee and carry on. I disagree with this message. My own experience has taught me that our bodies are incredibly intelligent. They usually whisper before they scream. And for years, my body whispered through exhaustion, poor sleep, and anxiety. But I kept pushing through because I thought that that's what strong women did. Eventually, my body screamed, and then it eventually stopped. One of the biggest lessons I've learned from that experience is strength isn't about ignoring your body, strength is listening to it. Another belief I'd love to change is that asking for help is somehow a weakness. I think many women have spent decades being the person everyone else relies on. We're the organizer, the caregiver, and the problem solver who keeps everything running. But somewhere along the way, many of us have stopped asking, what do we need? And menopause is often a stage in life where we simply can't keep carrying on everything on our own. And perhaps that's not a bad thing. It gives us permission to ask our partner and tell them that we're struggling, ask our employee for some support, and find a doctor who listens or lean on our friends. I've learned that asking for help isn't a weakness, it's actually wisdom. And another misconception is that feeling terrible is simply part of getting older. Women often tell me, I thought it was just aging. And some changes are part of aging for sure, but many symptoms can be improved with the right support and lifestyle changes. We shouldn't accept constant exhaustion, brain fog, poor sleep, or feeling like we've lost ourselves without asking questions and seeking support. And finally, I'd love women to let go of the idea that their worth is measured by how much they do. So many of us have spent and built our identity around being busy and needed. But menopause asks us a different question. What do I need? That can feel incredibly uncomfortable at first, especially if you spent your whole life putting everyone else and putting yourself last. But looking after yourself isn't selfish. It's one of the greatest gifts you can give the people you love. Because when you feel healthier, happier, and more energized, everyone around you benefits too. And that's really what Your Menopause Balance is all about, giving a woman permission to just stop surviving and really start thriving.
I'm sure we have many listeners that are thinking to themselves, this sounds like me, but I don't know what to begin, even where to begin. What advice would you give to them?
Oh, the good news is that you don't have to change everything overnight. The reality is, small, consistent changes are far more powerful than trying to completely transform in a week. And if I encourage women to start with just 3 things, this would it be. The first is protect your sleep. Sleep is when your body restores itself. And poor sleep affects everything from your mood, your energy, your hormones, and your ability to cope with stress. Creating healthy bedtime routines can make a real difference. Think of sleep as one of the foundations of good health, not something you catch up on later. The second bit of advice would be build strength. One of the biggest changes after 40 is that we naturally begin losing muscle if we don't use it. And strength training protects our muscles and bones. It also supports our metabolism. And the most important thing is it makes us stay independent as we age. This doesn't mean you need to become a bodybuilder. Whether it's weights, resistance bands, or body weight exercise, just find something you enjoy. The goal isn't to just look stronger, it's to stay stronger for life. And the third would be don't do it alone. Connection is one of the most overlooked parts of health. Talk to a friend, join a walking group or a Pilates class, find a health professional you can trust. Women have spent far too long suffering in silence, believing they're the only ones going through this. And they're not. And when you share your stories, you realize you're far less alone than you thought. And if I could add one final bit of advice, it would be simply this. Be kind to yourself. Your body is asking for attention, not criticism, not your excuses. So would you talk to a good friend the way you talk to yourself? Most of us wouldn't, yet we often our own harshest critic. Your body isn't letting you down. It's asking to care for it differently. And when you stop fighting your body and start working with it, that's when the real change happens. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to take the first little step, and those small steps repeat consistently are what creates lasting health and confidence.
Well, Luci, what is one thing that you would like our listeners to remember from this conversation?
I would like women listening to know this. You're not broken. If you're feeling exhausted, anxious, forgetful, or like somehow you've lost yourself, please don't simply accept it as, I'm just getting older. Menopause isn't something to fear. It's something we can understand and navigate with confidence. And with the right knowledge, support, and some lifestyle changes, this stage of life can become one where you really feel stronger and more confident and healthier. Keep asking those questions, reach out for support, and talk to the people you trust. Be patient with yourself. Real change doesn't happen overnight. Every small step happens and matters. Every little healthy meal, every walk, every strength session, every good night's sleep, and every act of kindness towards yourself, they all matter. And I truly believe midlife can become one of the most rewarding times in your life. It's a chance to just stop putting yourself last and start investing in your own health and well-being. Your Menopause Balance gives women the knowledge and the confidence and the practical tools to navigate the stage in life with hope instead of fear. When women understand what's happening to their bodies, they become empowered to make choices to help them, not just get through menopause, but really, truly thrive beyond it. And because menopause isn't the end of your story, it can be the beginning of one of the healthiest, strongest, and most rewarding chapters of your life. I'd just like to add, if you'd like to learn a bit more, I'd love you to invite you to my website, which is luciharrison.com, where there are plenty of free information and practical resources to help you navigate menopause with confidence. And on my Instagram, which is Your Menopause Balance, we share simple exercise tips, healthy recipes, and lifestyle advice to help you really feel your best through midlife.
Well, Luci, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Thank you, Miriam. It's been a delight.
Well, thank you, Luci. It has been such an honor to spend this time with you and to talk about your award-winning book, Your Menopause Balance, a practical, holistic guide to thriving beyond midlife. Unlock your energy, confidence, and joy. Make sure to visit Luci's website at luciharrison.com for more information on her work and to be part of her community. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You're listening to Moments with Marianne, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.